Alright, so I'm going to show how to open up and disassemble this 15-inch MacBook Pro 2018 model A1707. So first what you want to do is remove all the screws from the bottom. So you would use a pentalobe screwdriver for these MacBooks. So if you don't have one, you'll have to order this kind of screw. It's a 1.2 millimeter pentalobe screwdriver. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So once you remove those 6 screws, what you'll want to do is turn the MacBook around here so that the hinge is facing you. And then if you can pry up the bottom panel near the upper part here. So usually this little gap where the air vent is, I can use that to pry it up. If you can't do that, you can use like a suction cup, or you can use a screwdriver in one of the screw holes, and you can kind of like turn it sideways to kind of help you pry and lift up the case. So the easiest way is if you have a suction cup, just stick that on, pull it up a little, then you can get a gap. You can stick the pry tool in or your fingernails. And then what you want to do is go work your way down the sides, and then you got to pop the clips. So go down the side, and then I use my fingers here, and then my thumb I push on the bottom part, and it pop it up like that. Okay, same thing with the other side. Go all the way around, use my fingers here, push my thumb down, and pop it up just like that. All right, there's also some clips in the middle, but those usually come out once you pop out these two. But if the middle's kind of sticking down, you can kind of just lift this up a little bit. All right, then to get this cover off, there's some clips here that slide underneath to keep this bottom piece out. So to get that out, what you want to do is pull this whole panel towards yourself. So what I do, be careful because you can actually cut your hand on the bottom part underneath the cover. So what I like to do to be safe is I'll kind of hold it up like this, and then I'll push on this bottom piece with my thumb. So I'll do that and kind of push it. Sometimes it's very tough and it won't go, so try the other side, and then you might have to just wiggle back and forth. So just go on the other side, and there you go. If it doesn't come out that way, you can also get some help by pulling the top here. But yeah, just be careful when you're doing it. You don't want to like try and yank it too fast. The clips kind of make it difficult to do it slowly, but yeah, be careful so that if you pull it out, you don't scrape the whole thing along the chips here. Okay, so that's how you remove that cover. Just set that aside. Once you get that cover off, then you want to disconnect the battery first. So if you didn't already, I should have mentioned, but make sure to shut down your computer and then close the screen. This kind of computer, this MacBook model, it usually turns itself back on when you open the screen. So as long as you just shut it down, close the screen, you're probably okay. So now to disconnect the battery, there's this plastic piece here. Just peel it up. There's some little double stick adhesive strips holding it down. So just peel that out. Make sure when you put it back, this circle one goes on top of this screw, and then it just follows the line of this metal piece here. Okay, so now we got to remove the screw for the battery. So first you have to undo this. So there's this little flap here. Just lift that up, move it out of the way, and then there's a little latch on the back of this connector. Just flip it up like that, and then grab the back connector as close as you can, and just wiggle it, and you can pull it out just like that. Okay, this cable will stay here, so just leave it. Just move it out of the way so you can undo the screw. So underneath there's this screw here. You need a T5 screwdriver. So just undo this big screw, okay, just like that. All right, so this is going to be near complete disassembly. The battery I'm going to leave in because it's secured down with adhesive, and the screen I'm going to leave in because it's working already and I don't really need to check it. But I'll show you kind of how to lift this stuff up. If you need to see how to replace the battery or the screen, the other 2016, all the 2016 to 2018 models are very similar, so you can watch one of my other 2016 to 2018 MacBook Pro battery or screen replacement videos. Okay, so once you remove that screw, there's this metal thing here. This metal tab connects the battery to the board. Just bend it up slightly. You don't want to bend it too much because then when you put it back down, it's not going to line up properly. So just bend it up enough so that when you let go, it keeps itself raised and doesn't touch the battery pads. Okay, once you do that, you want to open the screen and then just hold the power button for a few seconds. Make sure to drain any power out. Usually about 10 to 20 seconds is good enough. Yeah, so do that. Make sure to drain any power out. Okay, then you can start removing everything else. So usually I'll start with the screen. This is the most important one to drain the battery for. If you didn't drain the battery, make sure you did that before going to take out the screen. So to take out the screen, you'll want to switch to a T4 screwdriver, and you'll remove the 2 screws holding this metal plate here. Okay, so remove those 2, just like that. Alright, so remove those 2 screws, and then take this metal plate out and just put it away. Make sure to keep the same direction, because when you put it back, you want to put it back the same way. You don't want to flip them around or anything. And then you want to remove the 2 screws from this part here, this black plasticky piece. So this part is holding the LCD cable down. So if you don't take this out, then the motherboard is going to be still attached to the screen with this cable. So make sure you remove these 2 things. Okay, once you do that, then you can actually go underneath. So let me see here. Right, so once you do that, you can go underneath this connector here. Just use your fingernail or a pry tool and then just pop it up just like that. This connector you can kind of move out of the way. Don't flex it too much backwards or you can damage it. All right, if you want to change out the screen, you can remove the 4 screws here, and then you can move this board, but there's a lot more screws. You have to take out all of this and all of these and a whole bunch of other stuff. So watch the other video for that, because I don't want to turn this into like a over an hour long video. Okay, so now I'm going to remove the hinge covers just so I can get them out of the way. So this, okay, switch back. Oh, so this you need to also use the T4. So remove those 2 screws. All right, and we'll do this on both sides. Alright, so once you do that, you can lift this hinge cover up, and then you can move it aside. Alright, same thing with the other side. Just undo the 2 screws. Okay, just like that. Once you do that, same thing, lift this one up. And these ones are different for both sides, so make sure not to mix them up. Alright, once you do that, you can see more screws under here. So I'm going to start disconnecting all these cables. So let's see here. You got the speaker here. I believe the speakers are held down with an adhesive. So I'm not going to take the speakers out of this piece, because I don't like to mess up the adhesive and then have to, and then it will cause problems later. So we'll take out this connector here. This is for the audio jack. So there's 2 screws here. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Yep. Alright, so we'll take out the audio jack screws. So there's 2 here. All these screws are different sizes, so make sure not to mix them all up. I try and keep them all in order on a desk, so that way I can tell where they came from and put them all back. Alright, then we take out these ones. So almost all these screws for the connectors are using T4 screwdriver. The ones that are holding down the board, I believe, are T5, so just make sure to keep that in mind and make sure that you keep them all in order. Alright, so then you can pop up this connector here, just like the screen one. Just get your fingernail or pry tool underneath and then just pop it up. Alright, just like that. So this connector, I'll pull it out later to check, but I'm sure it's fine. Alright, so we got that, and then underneath this there's the connector here for the power button, so you can pop that up with your fingernail or pry tool as well. Alright, and then move that aside. Then you got these 2 screws here holding this metal plate, so take those 2 out. And these are to hold in the charge ports, or the USB-C ports. Alright, so take those 2 out, then you can take this metal plate out. Alright. Oh, that metal plate actually is attached to the connectors, so you don't have to pull the plate out. You can just pop it out just so it's disconnected. Alright, then let me see, I'm going to remove all the T4 screws first before the T5. I believe these are all T5. Oh, this is actually even a larger which models? That's probably a T8, I think. So T8, yeah. So you'll need a T8 screwdriver as well for this fan, heatsink screws. And then these are all T5s, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So this screw, you don't need to remove it. This metal plate here is actually for a data recovery tool. So if for some reason your board died, sometimes the SSD is still working, you can actually plug the tool here and then access the data. It's a very expensive tool and you need another MacBook that's with Thunderbolt 3. So the tool to read this is usually like about 250 plus to get. So usually if you're gonna get data off your MacBook, you're probably gonna just want to bring it somewhere to get your data. Yeah, unless they charge more than the cost of that data recovery tool, then you can probably do it yourself. So to get the speaker out, what you do is lift up the cable, get as close as you can to the connector, and then just lift it up with your fingernail or a pry tool and do that. All right, so that's how you get the speaker connector out. Then you got the trackpad cable here. The trackpad, to get it out, it's actually very easy. So there's these screws here. Are these T4 or T5? The T4 fits. Okay, I think it's actually, yeah. So for the trackpad, it's T5, but basically you'd remove all these screws here along the side, and then I think all these ones down here. If anything, you can look for the trackpad online and look at the back, see where the screw holes are. But yeah, you would remove these, and then you can take the whole trackpad out from the front. It's actually a quite nice design because the cable slides out this way. Okay, but yeah, so I'm gonna disconnect the cable just to get it out of the way. So undo the screws here. All right, just like that. All right, once you do that, you can take out the metal plate, set it aside, and then just like all the other connectors, just pop it up just like this. All right, they use an adhesive to kind of hold this in place. But basically, once you remove those screws and you can pop the trackpad forward, this cable can slide through the little gap here. So it's a pretty nice design compared to the old models. All right, so then you got another connector here. I forgot what that's for. That might be for like the keyboard and fans. I'll know for sure once I take the board out. But yeah, so we'll take those screws out. Okay, once you get those screws out, same thing, move this little metal plate aside, and then you can pop the connector up, just like this. Okay, just like that, move it aside. All right, then you got the other speaker here, same thing as the other one. Just get your fingernail or pry tool underneath as close as you can to the connector, and then you kind of just pop it up, just like that. See, it comes up at an angle, and like that. All right, then we'll get out this connector here for the speaker, or actually, what is this for? I'll see when I open it. I forgot what all these connectors were for. All right, so we'll take out these screws. All right. Then we'll disconnect that one. Just like that, same like all the other ones, pop it up. All right, oh. Then we got this one, so I think this is the microphone, and this might actually be the fan. So we'll know for sure once I take out all of these pieces. Okay, so, with the fans, you just pop up these, or the microphone, you pop up this little latch here, and then after that, you can use the little plastic tab to kind of wiggle it and pull the connector out. Okay, just like that. All right, and then we got another one here for the other power sockets, USB-C ports. So take those screws out. All right. And then just pry this up, just like the other one. This is actually the connector for those sockets. All right, and then you got another connector here. I believe this is for the touch, what is it called? The touch bar. So take that screw out, move this metal plate aside. This metal plate actually has a little hole that latches on here, so when you put it back, put this side first, get it latched, and then put that screw in. Okay, so once you get that, then you can pop this connector out, just like this. Let's see here. just like that, and then move it out of the way. All right, I believe that's all the connectors. So now we're gonna move all the T5 screws from the motherboard. Okay, so switch to the T5. Actually, I'll do the T8 first. So remove these two. All right. So there's one up there, and then remove the other one from this corner. All right. The T8 is also used for the hinges for the screen if you're gonna remove that. All right, but once again, there's another video I made of that, so I'm not gonna show that in this video. Okay, so once you do that, now you just look for all the motherboard screws. So there's one here. Okay, one down here. All right, then you got another one up here. You got another one down here. Oh, that's actually using a T4 screwdriver, so switch back to the T4 for this one. Okay. All right, back to the T5, and then we'll remove the wireless antennas. There's one screw here. Okay, so for the wireless antennas, just get close to the tail and then pry it up. Don't try and pry from the front. You always want to pry from the tail, just like this, okay? All right, side. All right, there you go. So we got the antennas out. And then this might be a T4 as well. So the two screws down here towards the middle are actually T4 screws, so make sure you use the right screwdriver for that. Okay, switch back to the T5, or, yeah. All right, remove that one. Remove this one. Okay, and then we got one more up here. Alright, so I think that's all the screws. Once you got all the screws up, you should be able to lift the board out. So let's see here. I'll like to start from like a side where I can get my fingernail or pry tool underneath, and then just lift very slowly, carefully, because you want to make sure nothing is getting caught on the board, as you can see like this. And you can see like these adhesive strips for these are getting stuck on the fans. So just be careful, do it slowly, there's no rush. Make sure to get all these cables out of the way. The hardest part about taking this stuff out is actually just making sure that none of the cables are getting caught on it while you're lifting the board up. Because if you get something caught in it and then you just yank it out, then you'll damage the board or damage the components. So be very careful. Move all the components out of the way and just go slow. There's no rush. Okay, peel up this rubber piece here. Okay, just like that. You want the sticker to stick to the rubber piece. Alright. Oh, it's easier to keep it on the fan, so I'll keep it down there. Okay. Keep this tape in line. Alright. Keep that tape down there. Alright. Then you kind of just wiggle it around. You'll feel it getting caught. Just make sure to check what it's getting caught on and then move those connectors out of the way. Okay. Slowly. Alright, gently. Alright, there you go. Usually the ones that get caught the most are the power connectors, the USB-C ports, so just be careful. Alright, and then you can route the antennas underneath. And there you go. So now we got the whole board out. So this is what the bottom of the board looks like. There's not really much to it. There's some dust, so I'll clean that off. Usually I'll just use like a toothbrush and then just brush off the dust. Oops. So usually I'll brush it off outside, and then I have a thing to blow the air, so once the dust is loose, then the air will blow all of that out. Okay. So I'll show you. I'll just brush all the dust off camera, but basically I'm just using a toothbrush and running it over the whole board to get the dust loosened up. Okay, once you get that all done, I have this little air blower or an electric one, and then I just use that to blow all the dust off the board. Okay. If you're curious, this thing is called Geodos or something, and then it's called like a rocket air blaster or something. But yeah, so this works pretty well for cleaning the dust off, especially after you brush it with the toothbrush first. Just loosen it up. Alright, everything looks good under here. Okay, so if you're wondering where the RAM and stuff is like that, usually they'll be under like these little metal plates. I usually don't pry these up, but these plates you can actually pry them up like this, and you can look underneath. There's not really anything a normal user can do with it, so yeah, you don't really need to open these. These actually look like the memory, the SSD memory. So it's the SSD soldered to the board, and yeah, so that's actually that. Okay, so put this piece back on. Oh, and when you work on this stuff, make sure to keep yourself grounded. I have my leg actually touching part of this desk, like a metal part. So if you're wondering how I work on stuff and not like damage them with static or anything, that's why. Alright, so then you can see underneath this metal plate as well. This also looks like, so it's actually, this looks more like RAM because it's a wider chip. This might actually be the SSD memory because it's more like a square shaped chip. I don't know if that's how it works, but that's usually what I see on RAM, and that's usually what I see for SSDs, so that might be what it is. Alright, and underneath this, usually I don't pop these open, but they're coming out pretty easily, so might as well. Alright, let's take this one out. Oh, this one's kind of tough, maybe I should. Well, we'll see. I got half of it up. There we go. So under here, I think this is like probably a memory controller or something. I don't know what these chips are. If somebody knows, they can say it, or probably watch Louis Rossman's videos. He probably will know what all these things are. Alright, there's a bunch of these. Maybe I don't know. I don't think there's a point to open these up, but I'm going to do them just because I can. So, alright. You can see, looks like more controllers. Maybe I should clean the dust out of this too while I can. Okay, so you got that. Put this metal plate back on. Alright. Looks like all these, and then you got all these little white stickers. Those detect if liquid got in your computer, if you're wondering what those are. Alright, let's open up the rest of these. Let me set this down. Alright, got another, looks like controller here. It all looks clean underneath, so it's good. Alright, so those are the main things. Let's clean this up a little bit more. This was where the power button was having issues, so I'm going to clean that up. Alright, so we got all of that. Bottom looks good. I don't think I showed what's underneath this one, but let's clean this one up. It's kind of dusty too. Alright, so I don't know what all of these are under here. I'm pretty sure some of it's like the SSD memory, and some of it's RAM, and some of it's controllers. But yeah. So I don't know why they put them underneath these metal things. It's not like it really pulls the heat away. It's not touching it. Then you got this little thing here that's sticking out. This is what detects whether or not your computer screen is closed. There's actually two of them, so there's one here and one here. But that's pretty much all there is to this thing. I'm going to clean the dust out. Oh, so I forgot to mention. So the fans, they actually connect to the keyboard here. So they have these connectors here. This is actually a microphone connector, that one that curls over the board. And then this looks to be part of the touch bar sensor. So the touch bar, I think, has like these two connectors. If it's not, I'm not sure what else it's for, but yeah. I think one might be for the touch bar, maybe one's for Touch ID. And then you got the power button connector down here. Yeah, then this little connector here, this is where the Touch ID sensor is. So actually the power button, Touch ID is all one connector. So I guess the touch bar has two, or I just don't know what that's for. So clean all this up, get all the dust out, make sure it's nice and clean. Alright, get all the dust out. It actually looks all nice and clean inside. Okay, and then pretty much just put it back together. So the hardest part with putting this stuff back together, also make sure this metal piece is still bent upwards. You don't want it to make contact while you're trying to put the board back in, or you can damage everything. So first thing, make sure the wireless antennas go back underneath there. Alright, and then always do the back of this first. So we'll go with that. Make sure all these cables are up and out of the way. You got the power button and the audio board. Uh-oh. Why did... Oh, shoot. Wait, oh, it's still recording. Why did my flash turn off? Is that low on battery? Sorry, let me check something here. Recording for some reason stopped. Why isn't it letting me check the battery life? Oh, 15. Oh yeah, okay, so my battery's slow, so the flash turned off. I thought the whole recording stopped. Sorry about that. So I will continue. Alright, so got all of that. Alright, make sure these cables are all out of the way. Make sure they're back on top. So good thing to do if you're new to this, just count them all. So you got this, 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 and then you got these connectors. And then, yeah, you got these. So the most important ones are the ones back here. Those are going to be the toughest to make sure you get them. So wireless card first, of course, or the wireless antennas. Then these two back here. Keep them out of the way. Make sure this cable for the microphone is out. All right. And then you can go to this side, the power connectors, and then also the power button and this headphone jack. All right. Slide that in. Make sure the trackpad cable is out of the way. All right, make sure the speaker cables are up and on top of the board. All right, so you got that. All right, make sure the keyboard cable is out of the way. Make sure this cable for the battery setup is also out of the way. Okay. All right. Flexes weird because it's in the way. Okay, so make sure all these cables are going over on top. Got the other speaker here, and then you got this cable, I think, for the touch bar or something down here. And speaker cable. Alright, don't try and force the board down. It should slowly go down as you kind of move these cables out of the way. Just like this. A lot of these cables like to go back in, so make sure that you make sure they're out of the way. And there you go. The board just fell back down in place. Make sure it sits properly. Line up the screw holes. And that's pretty much it. Once you do that, just put all the screws back in and you're good to go. Before you start putting the screws, just make sure to go around, check that all the connectors for each socket is out. So you got the one up here, you got this this touch bar cable, you got the USB-C ports, you got the microphone, other touch bar cable, the speaker, you got this for the battery connection, Okay, this is actually getting bent kind of weird. Then you got the keyboard, trackpad cable, other speaker, the other power USB-C jacks, and then you got the headphone jack, and you got the power button Touch ID cable. And make sure also you got the LCD cable out here. Okay, and the wireless antennas. And that's pretty much it. So basically, to put everything back, you just push them back down, make sure they're lined up, they'll snap back in, and redo all the screws. And that's all there is to it. So hopefully this video helped you. If it did, please like and subscribe because that'll help me. Thanks for watching. Again, don't forget all these little plastic bits and stuff that you took out. Don't forget the little battery covers. If you wanted to make sure, just rewind the video, go back to and make sure, look at everything, make sure it all looks the same. But yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye.